There's a process called living by a code. And I started adopting this process several years ago. It was one of the pivotal pieces that changed my life and shifted who I actually am, shifted how I showed up. Before I even heard the concept of living by a code, there was a version of me that continued to show up just as a liar. That's it. Consistently, I was always lying. It was like second nature to me to just lie. I could lie about anything. I grew up lying and making people think that I was an awful liar. So when I needed to lie, I could lie with no problem and no one would have any clue or suspect. There was many times that growing up, I would lie to be able to get away from the accountability or responsibility of what I was going to get in trouble for, or what I was doing, or what I wanted. It didn't really matter. But then into high school, college, into marriage, it got to a place where the lies continued. And they just became easier because I was well trained and well versed in just telling a lie, making sure that it was just slipped off the tip of my tongue and it didn't really matter to me or my conscience because it'd been seared so many times. It'd been explained away in my own life that lying wasn't bad, even though I knew logically it was bad, but emotionally I didn't care. I was used to it at this point, and it was serving me a purpose to get to where I wanted to go. But then I came to a place where I started realizing one simple truth, that if I wanted to show up as a man, I had to stop lying. There was no other way around it. There was no other way that I could show up as a man and still be a liar. Because if I was a liar, I was still a coward. And if I was still a coward, I still wasn't showing up as a husband, as a father, as a man in the relationship. So when I talk to men today that are liars or cheaters or abusers, I'm like, hey, this is the biggest thing that's keeping you from actually being a man. And some are like, oh, no, I'm a man. And I'm like, well, you haven't really proved it by being a liar. But this is who I was for so long, constantly lying about who I was, constantly lying about what I was doing, constantly putting up a mask in front of friends and family, and then taking that down to my wife so she could actually see the true monster that I was, because I didn't care. All I cared about was what I wanted in the moment. So I kept lying. And then I got introduced to a piece that was called the code. And the code is the premise. The very, very code of this is saying, if you want to be a man, stop lying. It's just a simple principle of stop lying. This is prevalent in our society, prevalent in all of our lives. You're lied to by social media. You're lied to by media. You're lied to by the news networks. People are like, why would the news ever lie? Well, because they're a private corporation that gets money off of fear-mongering. You are lied to constantly by many things. You're lied to by political parties. You are lied to from your friends and family by extrapolating different stories, by making it seem better, by avoiding certain things, by running away from certain topics to make themselves and you feel better. And then we also lie to ourselves. You lie to yourself right here and right now by telling yourself that it's not that bad inside your relationship. The word abuse, that doesn't apply to you. Like that's not actually where you're at. That's not actually what you're struggling with. That's someone else. That's someone else that's actually getting physically beat, not the emotional beating that you're getting each day. That doesn't count as abuse. There's going to be many lies that people are going to have in their life and that society has as a whole. But this is who I was. Internally, very much so a liar, constantly, nonstop, until I was confronted with this piece of telling the truth. I didn't want to admit that I was a liar to myself. I knew I lied to other people. I justified it. I excused it away. But to actually come to terms with saying, I actually lied to myself, I did not want to admit that. I did not want to see that. I would rather run from it as fast as possible than actually own it and say, okay, yeah, I'm actually not telling the truth to myself. Because not telling the truth to myself, breaking that lie would feel like the worst thing ever. Because breaking that lie would actually tell myself that I'm not this amazing good person that I kept lying to myself that I was. But I just kept lying. The first aspect of living by a code is showing up real, which is telling the truth. Now, you don't realize how much you've lied. Man, what I mean by this is I'm not calling you a liar, but I'm also saying you haven't been telling the truth fully. And what this looks like inside of the relationship that you're stuck in is you haven't been able to express authentically who you even are. Like who you are right now showing up inside the toxic relationship. You're with a toxic guy and you're trying to figure out, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know how to show up. You're showing up inauthentic. And what I mean by that is like you're not able to express your emotions, your feelings, your desires. The person that you actually want to be doesn't exist right now. And the problem is you will lie to yourself being like, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. This is just how life is going to be. I just have to adjust my expectations. I just have to give up on my dream. You will sell yourself lies to be content in the shit that you're in right here, right now. But the piece of being real is showing up authentic, is actually being fully you, is being able to embrace who you are, the good parts, the bad parts, the light and the dark, being able to say, this is who I am, unapologetically. You can't do that right now, which is why there's lies. You have to be able to hide a version of you. You have to be able to hide the fun side of you because that's too much for him. You have to be able to hide the part that's hurting because that's too much for him. You have to hide the part of you that's emotional and doesn't know how to deal with his cheating because that's too much for him. You have to hide you, and as a result, you moved into a place of inauthenticity. You're not true to who you are. You're not. Because deep down inside, even as you listen to this, I know that your soul resonates with the simple fact that you are called to be more than simply used and abused. God didn't put you on this planet to just get used by another guy. God didn't put you on this planet so that you could ascribe to that guy's reality. God didn't put you on this planet so you could serve this other God that's in your life that's abusive and is hurting you mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually, and doesn't care. Inside of all of this, I need you to see that one of the biggest things holding you back is your willingness to see you truly, who you actually are. The amazing, beautiful person you are with God-given talents that has been put on this planet to grow, to develop, and thrive. But right now, you're living a lie because you can't live that. You're inauthentic to you because you're not able to show up honest because you can't be honest with him. You can't. You try to be honest, you try to express your feelings, and you're shut down. You try to express your emotions, and you're too emotional because he can't handle you. He's not willing to deal with his own stuff, so as a result, he'll never be able to deal with yours. He's not willing to actually deal with his emotions and the shit that's inside, so he can't deal with all of your struggles. He can't support you emotionally. Why? Because he's not willing to do the work in himself. Because ultimately, he doesn't care. But you end up being in a relationship that you tell yourself that you care. You tell yourself that you're willing to move forward. You tell yourself all different lies with no action. Can I tell you another lie that you're telling yourself right now? One of the lies you're telling yourself that you don't even realize is a lie, you don't even realize it's there, is you simply just don't respect yourself. You don't respect you. You might think you do, but if you actually look at your self-care habits right now, they're poor. If we actually look at you being able to grow and develop you, it's non-existent. If we actually look at you prioritizing time with you, that doesn't even fit on your calendar. You actually growing and developing you doesn't exist right now. And simply put, because you don't respect yourself. You have all of your attention on him. You have all of your affection on him. You have all of your mindset, your thought process stuck, thinking about him, ruminating about him, focusing on him, communicating to him, talking to him, everything. And nothing about you. But you're like, but I need to be subservient, but I need to serve him, but I need to be loving, but I can't be selfish. No, you're just telling yourself lies to lose yourself in this relationship. And mark my words, if you continue to serve him like you're serving him, you will lose yourself. Because you're not showing up authentic. You're not showing up who you're actually called to be. And you're selling yourself short thinking that this is all that there is. The first aspect of living by a code, the premise of not lying, is simply showing up real. You being authentic to you. You being authentic to who God has called you to be. You being authentic to your purpose, to your goals, to your vision, to your values. You being authentic and actually standing in your power and saying, this is who I am. Can you do that right now? Can you communicate that right now or no? Because many times people cannot when you're in a toxic relationship. When you're in a toxic relationship and the guy's treating you like shit, you can't express anything. If anything, you have to hide. You have to sedate. You have to lie. You have to kind of disappear and fade into the background until he beckons for you to come. And then you come walking out of the shadows with the shackles on you, holding yourself to the relationship, serving him however you need to serve him just to make it through. And then he sends you back into the corner. The guy in your life is abusing you. You don't want to hear me say that because you don't want to hear the word abuse, because that paints you in a corner of being a victim. There's a vast difference between being a victim and then being stuck in victimhood. If you've been a victim of narcissistic abuse, it doesn't make you poor, it doesn't make you weak, doesn't make you anything. But the fact that you're even here watching this makes you strong. It makes you a survivor. So I'd encourage you to take the next step in your healing. Right now, if you resonate with what I've been saying here today, I want you to go to rawmotivations.com to be able to take the next step moving you forward in the healing process. Because if you don't focus on your growth and your development, you're going to ultimately just be stuck. Stuck in a toxic relationship, trapped, not knowing how to actually break free. So go to rawmotivations.com. Let's have a conversation and help you move forward today.